Good morning, everybody. While I was away, a lot has happened. And as Peter Rollins says, working off of Lacan, there is the experience of absence and the absence of experience. And this has been very disorienting for those of us who grew up evangelical with end times eschatology and are watching the news. We are having a very different experience than folks who I think do not have an orientation or an awareness of evangelical eschatology. So I'm going to put this into three camps. The first is the people who are having an absence of experience. They're just watching the news and they may think, oh, this is terrible. Like, the ICE things in Minnesota and Trump's tweets and the war in the Middle East and all this stuff and Russian political interference. But they're just experiencing it normally. Just this on its surface is normal. Then there's a second group, which is those of us who grew up but no longer subscribe to evangelical eschatology. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. We're having a very down the rabbit hole, opium pipe dream, cold sweats experience. And then the reason it gets really strange is because of the third group, which is folks, many of us, our parents and Sunday school teachers growing up, who are still in that camp of the left behind eschatology. So, for those of us who are watching the news, here's what's happening that is very, very strange. There are 5 things, at minimum, that we were told would be signs of the end times, and they are all happening right now. So, in the 4 months that I've been on break, all 5 of those things came to pass. And so, for instance, there would be the rise of a world leader who would be a vulgar man, a man of lawlessness, a sweet-talking, snake oil salesman with a forked tongue speaking out of both sides of his mouth, who would come and be, right, and this is like the Antichrist figure that many look for, would be, he would rise and, secondly, make a covenant with Israel that would last 3.5 years. There would be war in the Middle East, right? And that's happening. On the home front, we were supposed to be nervous about masked agents of the state breaking into our homes, pulling us out of our cars, showing up at our schools and our churches to snag us, right? And German-style Nazi. So we're watching that with horrific stuff. And then there is a Russian, the bear in the east, and a China component. And so all of this stuff appears to be happening in real time, and let alone the threat of a nuclear war. So here's the problem. If you, like me, no longer read the Bible that way, no longer understand apocalyptic literature that way, you are watching this unfold and saying, OMG, I can't believe this is unfolding exactly like I was taught it was going to. Because I no longer believe that the Bible predicts the future in that way, that the literature that we find in our New Testament and the Hebrew Scriptures aren't talking about the 21st century. They were commenting on something happening in their century. And so you don't have it as a predictive genre, but more of a political commentary, a literature of the oppressed. And so they spoke in code. Here's the problem. It would be bad enough if that stuff was happening and you no longer believed that. Where it takes a twist and a turn is that those who taught us that stuff in Sunday school and in youth group appear to be in support of it. So we were taught that these would be bad things. But for many of us are still evangelical parents and Sunday school teachers and youth pastors are pro-MAGA, pro-war in the Middle East, pro-ICE. And it causes not an anxiety, but a discomfort, a disorientation that feels like, what in the world is happening? All the stuff that I was afraid was going to happen is happening. And somehow I no longer see it that way or hold those same views. But those who taught me these views are now, it's almost like a photo negative. It's a mirror image where somehow the evangelical branch of the family is in favor of this stuff. And it is an upside down, disorienting, completely unprecedented turn of events that truly causes many of us to be like, I don't even have a filter, a rubric by which to decide how I'm going to approach this, how I think about this. I don't know how to process it because I don't think that's what the Bible was talking about. Yet people who do are still supporting it. And so all of that is to say, please pray and be kind to those of us exvangelicals who have moved on or evolved or processed, developed, migrated into other theological or non-believing perspectives. When we watch the news, we are having an experience of absence. We don't know what to do with it. Versus if you don't come from that world, and that's not your history, you are watching the same newscast or the same clips online and having an absence of experience. So we're watching the same thing, but we're not seeing it the same way. And it is very strange times to be an exvangelical. So be kind to those that you know, because there might be a lot more going on behind the scenes than you are aware of or have access to in your absence of experience. So I would love to hear your thoughts and feedback, your comments and questions. Very strange.